continuing last week's theme of giving the Scream sequels a proper subtitle, I think for Scream 4 we should go with Scream 4, the one that's kind of hard to see. Because I don't know if this movie was sponsored by Vaseline, or if it's meant to have an ethereal, dream-like quality, or perhaps it isn't. It's like a dream sequence, and they just forgot that scene. But the movie looks weird. There's just something about it. The cinematography, any type of bright spot looks really shiny. It looks like there's a filter over the screen. And this was the early days of Instagram, so maybe there was. I'm Alex from Sandro Says, and today we're going to talk about Scream 4 from 2011. Please leave a like on the video, and let's get into Wes Craven's last Scream movie. Alright, so the band is back together. It's 2011, 11 years after Scream 3. Wes Craven directed Scream 3. Kevin Williamson did not write it. Now we're in 2011. Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven are back, although there was rewrites again with Aaron Kruger again for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. But the band was back together. Sidney was back. You had Gale, Weathers, Dewey was back. So it's going to be a fun little romp back into history. It's the longest layoff between Scream movies that we'll see, at least to this point in time. So that's interesting to see everyone kind of grown up now. And the movie introduces a new cast of characters. So the plot is we're back in Woodsboro for the first time since Scream 1, which is weird to think about that the first two sequels did not touch Woodsboro at all. But we're back in Woodsboro. There's a new group of teens. It's Sidney's niece or cousin or something. It's her cousin, Jill, and her group of friends. And they're being terrorized by Ghostface. At the same time, Sidney happens to be in town on her book tour, so she's involved and can't leave town and is implicated as a potential suspect and all sorts of stuff. Gale is there covering things because she lives there with Dewey. Dewey's the cop. So that's the story. It's focused on the gore aspect of the movies from the 2000s, the movies that came out between Scream 3 and Scream 4, like Saw, like Hostel, stuff like that were torture porn, as they call them. So Scream 4 was a response to that, and there is a lot of gore in this movie. So it's interesting to see that. And there's a good amount of scares, too. I enjoyed this movie. It brings things back to the first two movies level of scares, which I think they did a good job of it. And it also has a secondary aspect of the kills being recorded. This kind of taking things into the digital age. You see people with, cell phones, and they're not just, getting calls, they're texting. There's someone live streaming, or as they called it at the time, web streaming, web blogging. They said he had a live web stream going on, and he's vlogging. It's interesting how the terms have changed over time. I did a little search. I'll put the graphic in here of how live stream took off, and web stream took, or web stream or web blog or any of those things just they crisscrossed as far as popularity. All right, so that's the general plot. Now let's get into my thoughts about the movie. I'll be going kind of scene by scene and then giving my general thoughts. So I like how they attack the torture porn right off the bat in their dialogue. Again, breaking the fourth wall, talking about what Wes Craven doesn't like or what he's responding to, kind of. So that's nice. I did like the fake-out scenes, but it makes it takes away from every death after that in the same sequence, because by the time you go through two fake-outs and then you get to the actual two high school girls that are stalked and killed, you don't know if it's another fake-out or if it matters or not, and it really didn't feel like it mattered. So that was kind of a bummer to me. It ironically makes it realistic because of the quality degradation. It's like a real movie or a real franchise where the kills get less scary. They did it in like a 5-minute sequence where the kills got less scary and less important right in that sequence. So, that's not the best start to a movie we could have gotten off to. But all right, we still have some hope here. All right, and now we go off. We establish Sidney being back in town. We establish Dewey, Gale, and now we have Dewey's partner, Deputy Hicks. She's probably the highlight of this movie as far as the adults are concerned. She's a great red herring. She's creepy. She has the amazing crazy eyes. She seems to be in love with Dewey and, maybe antagonistic towards Gale because she's with Dewey. So really interesting stuff going on there. And they do a good job with some red herrings in this movie. Some not so great, but otherwise I think she's definitely one of the great ones. You go to the high school and you meet some of Jill's friends. You meet Kirby, who is Hayden Panettiere. She's probably the standout from the younger kids. She's a awesome character, very funny, but definitely stands out from the group. She's kind of like the new Tatum as far as her wit and stuff. And then you have Jill's next door neighbor, who I don't even remember the name of. Then you have Charlie, who is a Culkin brother. I forget which one. He has long hair and he's very creepy. And right off the bat, you're like, that guy looks like he's the killer. And the way he talks about the murders and stuff, the way he talks in general, he always has this way of kind of like staring off and not moving his shoulders at all, or being like really, like, it's something about him just, I don't know if they told him to act that way or if he's just naturally creepy or what it is, but you almost immediately get the feel that he is the killer. And then his best friend, Robbie, is live streaming everything. He's wearing a headset, almost like he's, Geordi from Star Trek, walking around with a headset and just recording, constantly uploading to his blog or whatever they were calling it, since I guess Twitch came out in 2011, but I don't think they were using Twitch because they would have had to have known about it early. So probably some proprietary thing like Justin TV. Shout out to Justin TV. I used to watch Mystery Science Theater on there all the time. It's great. So I do wonder if Sydney would capitalize on her trauma with a book. Maybe it's some kind of cathartic thing to write about it, but Sydney did not seem like the type of person who wanted to go back and talk about Woodsboro and stuff. She seemed like she was ready to put it in the past by the third movie, and she was happy living her life. Was she out of money? Did she need to pay for something? Did she have to put a kid through college? Which, no, she doesn't have a kid until this movie, coming out 15 years later. So something is just amiss with her character because of that. It doesn't ring Sydney to me. They needed a reason to get her back to Woodsboro, where she had moved out of, without the same reason as like Scream 2 or Scream 3, Scream 3, where they're like, we need to ask her questions and she's going to come out of hiding. Like, I guess they wanted to skip that this time, but it all boils down to the same crap, which is unfortunate. I also forgot to mention Jill's ex-boyfriend Trevor is the clear super red herring from the kids. He almost seems like the Billy of this movie, but he's coming across way too evil from the get-go, being like barking at the other kids and stuff, that something about it's like, okay, this guy can't actually be the killer. So, all right. There's more Gale and Dewey drama, similar to the last movie and even the second one, similar to every sequel. I guess that's the through point of these movies is Ghostface and Gale and Dewey having drama. At this point, they should have broken up like 4 times by now. It should be over. Dewey should be dating Deputy Hicks, but he's still with Gale. Nobody knows why. Gale is a writer now and has She's been a writer, but she has writer's block because she hates Woodsboro and needs the big city to write, or she needs murders to write about. I don't know. I don't care. I'm here for Ghostface and Sydney and the new characters. I'm not here for Gale and Dewey. They don't do it for me. I'm sorry. Dewey's awesome, but Gale and Dewey sucks. So Kirby's fun. Every time she has a comment or a joke or something, it really comes across as a good character. I think they did a good job with Kirby. So you can tell who's on the chopping block as you're watching this movie. You can tell almost off the bat, like Sydney's press secretary or her publicist, whatever the hell it is, she's like, she's gonna die. And then her random aunt, that's Jill's mother, it's like they just inserted this woman out of nowhere. They never mentioned her having an aunt that she loved enough that she would stay with when she visited town or something, or I don't know. It seemed like this character was dropped in out of a helicopter, and it's like she's not gonna last long in this movie, you could feel. And that was unfortunate. I also noticed, as we go on farther in the movie, Sid and Dewey have way more chemistry than Dewey and Gale or Sid and anyone. So it's like, why didn't they eventually just put them together? I know they maybe wanted, because of the characters, once they're established, like the fans, they need Gale and Dewey to be together. But the more logical progression would have been maybe Dewey and Sydney, in my opinion, perhaps. So there's this really creepy scene where Judy appears out of the darkness to talk to Sydney and be like, hey, we went to high school together. I worshipped you. And it's so creepy and weird and amazing. And it's just, again, it's like, maybe she's going over the top with this Jill thing, but you could totally see, or Jill, excuse me, maybe Judy's going over the top with the Judy Hicks thing, but you could totally see her being the killer. So the next door murder, the murder that happens when they're watching from across the windows, that's pretty badass. It's not, it's like the guy's hiding in the closet. they're joking over the phone, and then they see their friend get murdered and like thrown out of the window and really messed up. And this was the gory part. This was the torture gore part of the movie. The cops outside are I forget, were they killed at that? No, they were killed later. I'm sorry. The cops, I don't know how they missed it. They only have 2 cops guarding all these houses, and they missed the killer, I guess, or it leads to one of the cops maybe being a red herring for a couple minutes. But it's just it's a bloodbath. And then Sydney, of course, is one of the first on the scene. Apparently, it was going to be much gorier or weird in the original cuts. There was bodies hanging and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, this scene really kicks your ass and wakes you up in the movie. Allison Brie, the publicist lady I mentioned earlier, she has possibly the dumbest murder in the entire series. She's in a parking garage, and it's middle of the day in a hospital, and the parking garage is completely empty. It doesn't really make sense why it would be empty, why she wouldn't be able to contact anyone, why there wasn't like an emergency, anything. And then Ghostface, it looks like he's gonna run her over or not, and it ends up being a stabbing. It's a pointless kill. You knew she was disposable, so there's no real interest in it. It's not like when you kill someone in the first movie, like Tatum. Oh man, we really hoped she would make it. Like Allison Brie, you knew she wasn't going to make it, unfortunately. So, the movie club does a really good job of Charlie implicating himself when he's like, well, if the killer was doing this, well, if the killer was doing that, well, the killer would totally want to film it. It's like, dude, all right, you want to lay off giving yourself up, or do you really want to get caught? So that was interesting. Stabathon, I thought, was interesting that it's at least 15 years after the murders, kind of. But I mean, so it's not as tasteless as Stab coming out a year after the murders, but it's still pretty crazy that they have this massive party and there's murders going on in the town. That's something I really don't think would be happening. I don't personally believe that that this many people in town would go to a well-known party that not like multiple people have been slaughtered at this point. One woman, like Allison Brie's character, was thrown out of the parking garage and like landed on a car. Like, they wouldn't just mess with this. So I think that's just the reality of it. I think it would be canceled. Gale's cameras. So Gale goes and sneaks into the party, and then all of a sudden she puts little webcams all around the place to be a sneaky little Nancy Drew, and the cameras all go black, in order. And then when Gale goes in to investigate, she realizes that someone else was filming her. So someone else already had cameras set up, and then she gets attacked. And at that point, again, it's like, how do you not at least bring Charlie in for questioning? Because he said the killer would want to film this. It's like, you at least have some type of reason to ask the kid stuff. Now, I know they put in the stick, but to me, it's like they really were pointing the finger at him. The other thing was, you don't really know who the other killer is, though, which is kind of fun. So even if you do know Charlie, you don't know the other killer. I can believe teenagers being goofed and confused and killed by someone like this, but I can't believe 2 cops would get just completely embarrassed like this, just walked up on and killed by a teenager. It's just like, come on, man. Like, you guys can do better than that, I think, personally. That scene just really bothers me too, because the cops, if the cops are going to do less than nothing, why even have them there? If it was just for the cool scene of the policeman having gotten stabbed in the head and stumbling, it's like, all right, Wes Craven heard a story about a man who stumbled and was able to got stabbed like that and was able to bring himself to the hospital because it didn't destroy anything vital. So like, it's realistic, but that's why we wanted to add this in this. I don't get it. So, all right. Stabbed at the mail slot. It's almost a cool idea, but when you see Sydney's cousin have it happen, it just looks corny. Something about the way this woman plays the part. It looks like she's in a fun house. It doesn't work for me. So that's not the best one. Charlie was so convincing and mentioned earlier how it's a sequel. Things got to change. Things got to be different. That you knew his chair fake out was a fake out. Like, the way that it was done with Kirby talking on the phone and not getting an answer, it's like, Kirby to me seemed too smart for that. She seemed like she was aware of how Sydney survived. So she wouldn't just go diving out to help someone. Now, true, at that time, you're vulnerable, you're scared, you think your friend is in danger. But a minute before you saw the blood on his hands and stuff. There was enough red flags there that Kirby should have said, let me wait a minute, and see what happens. So, all right. So now we're going to get to the climax and the big reveal of the ghost faces. Charlie is revealed to be one of them because he stabs Kirby at the chair after she unhooks him, and he's like, you had all this time to like me, and now you do. It's like one of those classic nerd things to whine about. I don't know. So that's just, he's kind of like you want him to die. But then the other reveal, Ghostface this entire movie has been a normal sized, not normal, but like a 6 foot, it looks like an adult male doing all this. And then all of a sudden Ghostface comes around the corner and it's like a 4'11" Ghostface. And it's like, that looks totally different than the one we've seen this entire movie. And it pulls off the mask and it's like, it's Jill. It's like, hello, Sydney, surprised? And she does it. She's so evil, but the way she says it's almost like a Disney movie, the way she says it.
Hello, Sydney. Surprised?
Jill has a great, talking through of why she's, orchestrated all of this. Basically, she grew up in the shadow of Sydney. She's always wanted some attention for herself. So, she wants to be the new Sydney. She wants to survive these murders and make it bigger than Sydney's because these ones are going to have been recorded because she convinced that idiot Charlie to record all these murders and record both of them and work with her. So it's a cool reveal, and she's actually the Ghostface that gets the closest to winning because Charlie thinks he's a partner of hers. She turns on him. He willingly takes it because he thinks it's going to be like the end of the first movie where Stu and Billy have to stab each other. She stabs him all right. She stabs him in the heart. And Sydney's like laughing at him. Not laughing because she's about to get killed too as far as she knows. But she's laughing like, no, Charlie, like you said, this is a recreation of the first movie. It's just you're the Stu. And, to one of the other people that Jill set up, she set up her ex-boyfriend to be the Billy and take the fall. And she injures herself and does all this legit, like, beating up. It's a crazy scene of seeing this woman beat herself up. As far as she knows, she killed Sydney. So now they're all going to the hospital. Jill is getting the adoration she's always wanted. She's the sole survivor from this massive massacre. But Sydney actually pulled through also. And Jill's like, oh, And at the same time this is happening, Jill is clearly about to get out of her hospital bed and go finish off Sydney. Dewey is talking to Gale. Now, remember, Gale was stabbed earlier. Dewey's like, oh, yeah, girl, that Jill girl's pretty tough. She's going to pull through. And she said, you and her are going to have matching scars. Isn't that pretty sweet? And Gale's like, well, how would she know that I have a scar like she does? Because she didn't see me get stabbed. And then Dewey realizes, oh, no, Jill's the killer. So that's actually a pretty cool moment how they realize it. Dewey gets there just in the nick of time as Jill's about to kill Sydney, but she subdues Dewey. Then Deputy Hicks shows up. It's actually a pretty good final fight. There's a lot of people beating the crap out of each other. There's some good fake-outs of who gets shot, who doesn't. And overall, I think it's one of the better endings after a great killer reveal, a really cool scene of oh crap, she's going to get away with this. This little girl is so evil and is this close to getting away with it and had this plan and is the whole thing. It was amazing. So I think even at the end, the reporters outside are still reporting on how Jill is the hero and stuff, even though on the inside she just got killed for trying to kill people. So I don't know. It really finishes up in an amazing way. I think that the movie does have its flaws. Like I said, it has a bizarre quality when you're watching it. It looks awkward. It just doesn't fit in with the rest of the series visually, especially doesn't fit in with the first 3 movies. Or the later ones. And I don't remember movies in Hollywood at this time looking like this at all. It's not like that's why they were doing movies in 2011. It literally looks like an Instagram filter or Vaseline was spread on the lens. So if you can get beyond that, which I can, I think this is actually a upper echelon Scream movie. When I do my ratings at the end of this, I'll probably have this in the top 3, I think, if I have to be honest. We'll see where Scream 7 comes in, so maybe that'll knock that out of the top 3. But Scream 4, it has some good characters, has some good scares, and overall, I like where it put the series. I thought it was a good reintroduction of Sydney, a good reintroduction of Dewey. Gale, I didn't really care about, but I thought they introduced also some new people that they could have passed things off to, like, Kirby and stuff. Not that you have to follow people through movies. It would have almost been better at this point to make it an anthology, which they kind of tried to do in 5 and 6, but we'll talk about 5 next week. For now, this was Alex from Sandro Says, asking you to please leave a like on the video, comment if you have any ideas or thoughts about Scream 4, and I'll see you next time. Take care.